All right, so this is staying top of mind with Smartplans. So it's really going to be an intro to Smartplans, what they are, why you'd use them, making sure your account is set up and ready to be able to use them. And then we're going to go through the Smartplans applet, which is this icon right here, which we're going to look at the library. So there are some already built for you Smartplans that you can use in your own business. You just customize them specifically for what you need. So we're going to go through those, how to edit them. So it's going to be just a pretty basic intro into using Smartplans. So what a smart plan is it's a set of automated tasks and touches. So tasks would be like to-do list items, which will show up here on your task section of command. So it'll create those automatically for you, as well as send emails and text messages. And that's something that you can automate as well. So they'll be in succession. So you might set up a plan that today someone gets an email, and then in a few days they get a text message, and then it tells you to follow up with them, maybe to call them. It creates a task for you. So there's a whole range of different things you can use Smartplans for. So we're just going to look at a few of those. And it really just helps establish and build relationships with your database before, during, and after a transaction, and new leads. So if you do any marketing and you're gathering leads, you can set up plans to automatically follow up with those people as well. So it's just taking care of a lot of that tedious emails and texts that you send every day to those people. You can automate those, so you can just set it and forget it. So the first thing you need to look at is your settings. So to get to your settings, it's just clicking on your name right up here and then go to settings. So there's a few things that you'll want to make sure that you've set up before you start using Smartplans. Takes a second to load. So you can scroll past all of these. For Smartplans, the main things you want to make sure first is command email. So this is the email service that's actually going to be responsible for sending the emails that come from the Smartplan. So you get 5,000 free email sends per month, which is a lot. I don't know anyone who's gone over the 5,000, but there is higher plans if you ever needed to, if you were using this a lot. But 5,000 is more than enough to start with. You want to make sure it says connected here. Typically this happens automatically, so you shouldn't need to do anything there. But you will want to click on manage right here and just make sure that the reply to email right here is the correct one. So you may have a few different options depending on if you had a different email when you first joined. Your personal email may still be there. Your KW email may be here. So what this is when you send an email from a Smartplan, when that person replies to it, this is where it's going to go. So where do you want to receive those replies? So just make sure it's an email you have access to, that you're using, that you're actually going to be monitoring, because that's where any replies to your Smartplan are going to go. You can also change the sender name here. So it should just be your name, how we put you in the system. But if you want it to display differently, maybe if I went by Jess instead of Jessica, I could change that just so it's a little more personal. And down here, it'll tell you how many emails you've sent. So if you're looking to keep track of that, this is somewhere where you can do that. So I've sent 398 of my 5,000 this month. That's where you can see all of those details. The other thing that's important is Twilio. So this is how you would send text messages from those Smartplans. So this is not free, unfortunately. It's very cheap, but it's not free. It's about $3.80 a month, which gives you 300 credits or 300 texts sent. So that is what you'd have to subscribe to in order to be able to send the automatic text messages. So a couple of things with that. One, it's not going to be your phone number because your phone number is already registered with a cell phone provider. You can't register the number a second time. So you're going to get a separate phone number for Twilio. Now, it can be a 902 number. You can choose the number so it doesn't look spammy. It's not a 1-800 number or anything like that. But just keep in mind, it will be a separate phone number. So there are ways to explain that. I mean, if you're texting people who already know you, a lot of people will say it's just the text number tied to my real estate business. Some people say it's their virtual assistant. Whatever you want to do to sort of downplay the different phone number, that's totally up to you. If you're using this for marketing purposes, like maybe you ran a Facebook ad, someone clicked on it, and now you're sending a text message from Twilio, they don't know your real phone number. They don't know the difference. So it really doesn't make, it's not a huge deal for that purpose. And then you can give them your direct number or your personal number, and they feel a little bit special because they feel like you're getting an exclusive contact info, even though it's just your actual phone number. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind. You can also set it up so if someone calls your Twilio number, it forwards through to your actual phone number. So if someone gets the text message from you and they click the call button on their phone to call that number, it's going to ring on your actual phone. So you won't miss any of those calls or anything like that. So if you want more information on Twilio, the plans, what's included, you just click subscribe in Marketplace right here, and it's going to open up a new tab just with an outline of the different plans and what they include, pricing, things like that. So it won't subscribe you right away, but that's where you would subscribe if you want to create a Twilio account. The other thing that is important is your marketing profile. I know I sound like a broken record. I talk about this in almost every training, but it really is a core part of every marketing piece that you do in Command. So it's under Connect settings right here, and then marketing profile. And this is where you would upload your headshot. Of course, your name, realtor would be your job title, bio, contact info, office information's here, as well as your social profile links. So if you have a Facebook business page or a YouTube channel, you can link those there. This is just important with Smartplans. If you did go down the route, there's an option to use designs to create very graphically pleasing emails, similar to the ones that I send out every week for the education. And that does brand it to you. So it puts your headshot and your contact info in there. So that does need to be filled out in the marketing profile in order for that to work. That's more on like the advanced side of Smartplans once you're in there and using them a lot more. We're just going to go through the basic parts of Smartplans and just writing a standard email, which the marketing profile isn't as important for that. So just something to keep in mind if you are going to be using Smartplans a lot more. I'm going to go home here. And we're going to head to the Smartplans applet. So it's the fourth icon down right here. It just looks like a little to-do list or something like that. You can click the KW at the top here to open up the menu so you can see what each item means until you get more familiar with them. We're just going to click on Smartplans. So here is the Smartplan dashboard. So I'm on the My Smartplans tab. So any Smartplans that I've already chosen to add to my library, they're going to show up in here. So I have 40, and this is all of the different plans that I've added. But if you've never used Smartplans, this is just going to say you have no Smartplans. So it'll probably look a little bit different. You'll see I have an error here. I don't have a Twilio account, so it's telling me that right away, just so I know not to do any text messages or anything like that because I don't have a Twilio subscription. So just something to keep an eye out for there. And I'm going to go over to the library. So I had mentioned that there is a section of pre-built Smartplans that you can already use just by customizing them, tweaking a few things. They're already built there and for you. So when I click on library, you'll see we have quite a few different things. There's thousands of Smartplans in here. So right on the main page of the library, first we have the featured section. So that's just more popular Smartplans. Maybe people are downloading them more recently. If you keep scrolling, we have Keller Williams. So there's two different types of Smartplans in the library. One is the agent-built Smartplans. So those are Smartplans that other agents have built for their own business, and they've chosen to publish them so everyone else can use them. The other type is the Keller Williams Smartplans, which you'll see here. It says Keller Williams is the author. And these are a little bit different. They're built by KW, and they're a bit less customizable. You can't change as many things in there. It's really just adding your contacts to it, and it does some things that are a little more automatic. So a few of those are the neighborhood nurtures. So what that is it's going to send a email, it says right here, biweekly email that helps you reach out to clients and show real-time market data. So it's actually in your contacts, when you add someone in there, you have the option to add neighborhoods. So if you know where they're looking or where they live, or just where they'd be interested in getting stats for, you can add that as a neighborhood in the contact, and I'll go through that in a little bit. But what that does is once you add the neighborhood to the contact, you can add them to this neighborhood nurture, and bi-weekly, so every second week, they're going to get an email with some stats and info about that neighborhood, how many new listings there are. They can look at all the listings. So that's really cool. One limitation with this, of course, being in Nova Scotia, a smaller area, is if you are more rural, you may not find your neighborhood. There are a bit limited. I mean, there's even some in Bedford that aren't there. So something to look at. You may not be able to do it for everyone, but there are quite a lot of neighborhoods. It's gotten a lot better. So if you're going through and trying to add a neighborhood and you're not seeing it, there is a way to request it, which I can help you with if you ever run into that. So that's just something to keep in mind. You may not be able to use it for everyone because not every neighborhood is in there. There's other ones like the 8x8, which is just an 8-week plan to follow up with people in your database. You can see some different information here. We have number of steps. So that's how many things are in this smart plan. So there might be a text, an email, and then a to-do task for you. So that would be 3 steps. There's one touch, so that means that it actually only reaches out to someone one time. So actually it might be 2 tasks and 1 email. So it just gives you an idea of how many times someone's going to be contacted if you put them on this plan. Now this has 1 touch because this is a bi-weekly plan, so it's going to run for 2 weeks and then repeat. So if you click on view steps right here, you'll see it sends that email. So it's an HTML email, which means it's a graphic email, so it doesn't actually tell you what it says. So it's more like it has like a header and some graphics in there. Then it waits 14 days and then it just repeats. So it really only has 1 touch when you look at it because that's all that's in there, and then it just repeats on a bi-weekly basis. Excuse me. The other ones that you'll find in here, there's ones like birthday. So when you're putting contacts into your contact applet over here, oh my goodness, excuse me, went down the wrong tube. The birthday smart plan, if you've added birthdays to any of your contacts and then you add them to this smart plan, it's actually going to send you a reminder prior to their birthday, and then it's also going to automatically reach out to the person on their birthday. So that's a really nice one to automate. Some of those touches that are just a little bit more tedious to remember. You'll have to go in and set reminders for things. You might keep a spreadsheet to remember, and this just takes care of that for you. So as long as you're keeping track of that in your contacts and adding those birthdays and things like that into the contact record, you'll be able to use these type of smart plans. There's an open house follow-up already built here. So that's if you did an open house and gathered some contact information, you might add them to your database and then add them to the smart plan. So it's just going to follow up with them after an open house. So this one actually has a text message. So you can see here, it says send SMS. And the text just says, hey, contact first name. So it'll fill in that contact's name. Thanks for coming by. What did you think of the open house? So very short and sweet. Now, of course, you will need to subscribe to Twilio in order to use the text message ones that you see here. But again, these are fully customizable. So when you add the smart plan, if you don't want to use Twilio, you could just switch this to an email. You could switch it to a task telling yourself to text them. You're not bound by what it's telling you to do here. So all of this can be edited. The other one, if you keep scrolling, there's a few different sections. So there's a new section, top rated, things like that. But you'll probably find more value in searching for things. So if there's something specific that you want to use a smart plan for, you can actually search in the library here. So before I go into searching, just a few things I want to point out. So not every smart plan is going to be right for you or right for your business. Everyone's business is completely different. So there's a few factors you'll want to think about when you're going through and trying to pick a smart plan. So first is relevance. So you want to make sure that you're reading the descriptions and figure out if the smart plan is relevant to what you actually want to achieve by adding the contact to the smart plan. Is it going to add value to them? Is it going to add value to you? Whatever the case is, you just want to make sure that what you're adding here is something that you actually want to use. The other one is the steps and touches. So like I mentioned, it tells you how many steps and how many touches there are. So how many times this person is going to get contacted. When you click on view steps, like you saw, it also tells you whether it's a text message or an email. One plan may have more text messages than emails. Some may emphasize on calling, so it might have more tasks in there. So just take a look at that and make sure it's authentic to you and how you want to run your business. If you're not someone who texts a lot, you may not want to add any text messages. If you're not someone who does a lot of emails for back and forth conversations and you do more text messages, you may want to stick with ones that have more of those type of tasks. So that's just one other thing to consider. The popularity of the plan. So you can look at how many downloads the plan has gotten so far. So a smart plan with a high download number is a good sign. So you can see here, this has 12,000 downloads, 8,000 downloads. Of course, that's probably why it's in the featured, 54,000 downloads. So you just want to look for one that has a higher number of downloads. Typically means more people are using it and more people like it. And then the validation, which is the approval rating. So here you can see we have a star rating. These have almost 5 stars, 4 stars. And as you're going through, a lot of them will be 5 stars here. So as these are the top rated. So just, you can check the average rating, see how people are liking it. It just gives you an idea of whether you're going to like it. Of course, it's not always down to a science. It might be a brand new smart plan that's really, really good. You really just want to make sure you're looking through the steps. The other thing that's important is if you are adding a smart plan from the library, you want to read through all of the emails that are in there. So if I click view steps, I'm not going to do that one there. With an email or even here. So a text message, for example, you want to read what the message actually says. Does it sound like it's actually you talking? Make sure the person who published that plan hasn't written their own name in there somewhere. So you want to actually proofread all of those because that's what's going to be sent out to the people that you add to the smart plan. So it's important not to just add the smart plan and add people to it without looking at it. You want to make sure that all of the emails and texts that send out meet what you want to achieve for your business, that it's actually branded to you, that it's coming from you, things like that. So those are just a few things to look for when you're choosing a smart plan. But I'm going to go up here now and just search. So if you're looking to do maybe, for example, the open house, you can search open house and you're going to get every template or every smart plan in the library that has been built by someone for an open house. So there's a ton of different ones. Actually, there's 154 for this one. So if I click on filter right here, you can sort, I believe, or just filter them. So if you just want to see more than 5 stars, you can do that. You can choose if you want them to have at least a certain number of downloads, the duration, who the author is, how many touches. So you can filter those results if there's some specific criteria that you're looking for. I'll just click filter just to narrow this down. So that narrowed it down quite a bit. So we just have 2 here. So this one, I'm going to click on view steps. And you'll see this is what this plan looks like. So first it's going to send a simple email. When we add the smart plan, you'll be able to see what the email says in full. So it sends an email and then it has a delay. So what the delay does is it just creates a buffer in between 2 steps within the smart plan. So obviously if you have an email today and then right after you have a text message, you may not want them to get both of those things on the same day. It feels a little bit spammy. So you might want 2 or 3 days in between the email and a text message. So you're able to add these delays that just put a delay between the first and second task. So you'll see we have another delay here after the phone call. So the phone call is actually a task. So that's going to show up in your to-do list in command in that task section, as well as on your command app. But that's just going to tell you to call them. You can customize what the task says, which you'll see when we get into editing the smart plan. Then the 5-day delay, another text message, 4-day delay, another email, and so on. So you can see this one's pretty long. It runs for 18 days, and that's just going to continue to contact anyone who you add to the smart plan. Another good one is new to Keller Williams. So if you are a new agent to us, whether newly licensed or you are coming from another brokerage. There are smart plans in here that you can use to reach out to your database and let them know that you've started a new career or made a change, switching to another brokerage. So here you can see I still have my filters on, so there's only 2, but there is a lot more if you have no filters. So we have the new to Keller Williams new license, which would be a brand new agent. So it says it's a simple 3-step system to letting your entire database know you've embarked on your new real estate career with Keller Williams. So that's just a little bit of a description. It has 6 steps, 9,000 downloads, and a 5-star rating, so we know it's a good one. When you click on View Steps, again, it's just going to send them an email, just sharing the news that you've joined KW. It waits for 3 days, then it sends a text message. So this text message actually downplays the different phone number really well, because this is a smart plan that you would send to your people that you already know. You're going to go into your command database, you're going to add your family and friends and maybe people from other jobs or previous jobs, just anyone that you know. And then you can start them on this smart plan. So it personalizes the reaching out to them so that you don't have to spend time reaching out to every single person that you know, telling them that you're now a realtor. And what's nice is you can see it says, hi, contact first name. So like I said, this does fill in the person's name that you're sending the message to. So if I added 10 people to the smart plan, they're each going to get a text message with their own name filled in. So it feels really personal. They feel like you actually took the time to sit down and text them specifically, instead of even with Gmail, if you sent a mass email out to everyone you know, they're going to know that it didn't just go to them, because it's not personalized. So same with the emails, you can use those, they're called merge fields, to fill in some personal information about that person. So the contact first name is a good example. But this one just says, as I begin my real estate journey, I want to make sure you had my contact info saved in your phone. This text number is tied directly to my real estate business, so feel free to save it in your phone. Thanks. So that really downplays the separate phone number. Of course, this person probably also has your real phone number. So it's the number tied to my real estate business. Then it waits for 6 days, and then it tells you to call them. Again, that's a task, so it's not actually going to call them for you. And the last one here, you'll see it says add to smart plan. So with the smart plans, you can actually set it up so when the plan ends, so this one is 10 days and 6 steps. Once you've gone through that 10-day period and done all of those steps, you can set it up so it then directs them to a different smart plan. So in this example here, this is the QCP, and that stands for quarterly call plan. So that's actually probably one of the most simple plans that's in here. Search for that. I'm going to remove the. And it's one of the Keller Williams one. But when you click on view steps, you'll see all it is a phone call. It waits 90 days and then it repeats. So it's just going to be a recurring task for you, reminding you to call this person every 90 days. So it goes through that plan. You've told them that you've joined Keller Williams, you've sent them a text message, and then when that 10-day smart plan ends, you're now just going to get a reminder every 90 days to follow up with them. And you don't have to call them just because it says to call them. You can send them a text message, a Facebook message, whatever the case is. It's just a reminder to follow up. You can also edit these as well. So maybe 90 days is too soon, or maybe it's too far out. You can change the delay. So it could be 10 days. It could be 365 days if you only want to call them once a year. But of course, 90 days is a good interval to be following up with people. So you can add these for all different purposes. You can also change them so it's just a normal task. So if there's anything that you do regularly, maybe every month you, organize your filing cabinet. I don't know, that's just a very vague example. If there's something you do on a regular basis, you can actually create a smart plan for that, and it's going to remind you to do that thing on the delay that you give it. So if it's every 30 days or 60 days, you can set that up. And then you're just going to get that task reminder to do that specific thing. So that's one of the ways you can use Command to automate your tasks and just be reminding you to do those things every once in a while. So that's a great use for that. Another good use case, the last one I want to show you, is if you do a Facebook ad. So if you are doing any campaigns through command specifically, you can actually set up smart plans to follow up with any leads that you get from those marketing, whatever it is, whether it's an email campaign or not an email campaign, but a social campaign or Google Ads or anything like that. You can set it up so it automatically adds your leads to a smart plan. So you might search for, if I did a Facebook ad, I might look for a Facebook lead follow-up. Again, there's quite a few options with 84. This is the one I usually use as an example. So what this will do is when you create a Facebook ad, just a short description of that, you can set it up so when they click on the ad, they have to give you some information before they get whatever you're advertising. So if you're advertising a listing, you may set it up so they have to put in their name, email, and phone number before they actually get to see all of that information. When they do that, they get added to your contacts in command. And if you've set it up when creating your campaign, you can also set it up so they get added to a smart plan automatically. So if I click view steps on this one here, if someone clicked on that ad and filled in their info, right away, you're going to get a task telling you to call them, and they're also going to get a text message. So the text message just says, hey, contact first name, this is Matt. You clicked on one of our listings on Facebook recently. Are you looking to buy in the next few months? We'd be happy to help. So that is one of the best things about smart plans, in my opinion, is lead follow-up. So Keller Williams is really big on speed to lead. Typically, if you're the first person to get back to that person, you're much more likely to get that person as a client. If they've reached up to 5 agents and you're the first one who gets back to them, they're gonna like that. So this automates that process. So if they click on your ad at 3 in the morning, they're gonna get that text message. Doesn't matter. You're sleeping. You have no idea it's gone out, but they're gonna feel like you are actually taking care of them at that time and following up with them. So they're going to appreciate that more, and you're much more likely to get that person, get an appointment with them or whatever the case is. So that's one of the best benefits about this program. You'll also see that it runs for 30 days, or 31 days, sorry. So the thing with Facebook leads is they're very difficult to convert. Everyone just scrolls through Facebook and clicks on random things. Either they're just nosy and want to know how much that house is listed for, or they didn't even mean to click on it. It just happened by accident. If you are doing that and then maybe 2 or 3 days later, you're finally getting around to following up with the leads, they've probably already forgotten what they clicked on. They already got the info they're looking for. And that was the end of it. So you may call them and they may have no idea who you are or why you're calling them. So when they click on that ad, because they're going to start getting these communications right away, they have no time to forget what they clicked on. They know why they're getting it, and they know what the purpose is. So that's just one of the other benefits as well. So you can see here, this one's much longer. Of course, like I said, they're much more difficult to convert. So the plan is longer, has more touches, and it's just a little bit more persistent. So it's going to continue following up with them until that 31 days ends, and then it just ends. You may customize it to add them to a different smart plan if you want to. That's totally up to you, but it's a pretty good length for following up with those leads. Now, you may want to add a different smart plan. I know when I was in Texas last week, they talked a lot about Facebook leads and that they typically take anywhere between 6 to 9 months to actually convert. So someone may click on your ad today, they may actually not want to buy till December. But if you are following up with them between now and December, they're much more likely to choose you when that time comes. So that's why it is important, once you get those leads, to make sure that they're always on a smart plan. Even if it's as simple as the quarterly call plan and you're just reaching out every once in a while, maybe you set them up on one of the neighborhoods so they're getting that information. Whatever the case is, you just want to make sure that you're following up with them regularly. So I'm just going to add one of the smart plans. I already have this one in my library, so I'm not going to add that one, but I will choose this one here. Just choose a random one. So I clicked add smart plan. It says add to my smart plans, and then I can choose the name. So it does have to be unique in your library. So if you're adding multiple, like even the quarterly call plan, you may want to change it if you're doing it for multiple purposes. Now for this one, it might be for a specific listing. So I'm going to call it 123 Main Street. Okay. Then I click download. And it doesn't actually download anything to your computer. All it does is it adds it to the My Smart Plans section over here. So now it's at the very top of my Smart Plans here. You can see the name, duration, total touches. And then over here, we have some actions. So first is add contact. Of course, like I said, you don't want to add any contacts to this until you've gone through, you've tweaked it, you've made sure everything looks as if it's supposed to, that your name's filled in everywhere it needs to be, things like that. So you don't want to add any contacts in here until you actually go through the Smart Plan. And another good thing that I recommend is adding yourself to your contacts, or your spouse or your mom or whoever that isn't going to mind you sending them random emails or text messages, just so you can test things out. You want to see how things are going to appear on the computer, on someone's phone when they get those emails, just to make sure that everything looks as it should. So those are great tips for when you're just getting started with Smart Plans. It's really helpful if you can test them out before you add actual clients to them. I'm going to skip over that one. The 3 dots here, you have a couple options so you can copy it. So if you created this Smart Plan for 123 Main Street, and then a week later, now you're listing 456 Main Street, and you want to use the same thing, you just want to tweak the address, you can just copy it, and it's going to duplicate that Smart Plan so you can use it again. Publish to library. So that is if you built your own Smart Plan, which you can, up here there is a create button where you can create your own from scratch. You can publish them to the library so that other agents can use them. So the same way we would just went through the library and picked a few to look at. If you publish it, anyone else can use your Smart Plan as well. And this is how you delete a Smart Plan. So if you wanted to get rid of this one, if you have no use for it anymore, you can just click delete. But I'm just going to click on edit, which is the pencil icon here, so you can see what that looks like. Maybe. Just refresh this here. Any questions so far on the Smart Plans or the library, or how to add them or anything like that?
When somebody texts back to your Twilio text, where does that show up?
So that will show up. It will come in as a notification in Command. So up here we have this little bell icon. So any notifications you get will come through here. But there is also a mobile app for Command now. And so if you download that app, you'll actually get the notification through there, and you can actually use that app now. It's brand new. I think it just came out about a month ago. You can actually use the app to text back. So you can, within the Command app, you can reply to those text messages from your Twilio number. So the Command app would kind of function as your texting app for Twilio if you are using that.
Okay, but if the person calls Twilio, what happens? They don't get anything. They just say this number just receives text only or something like that?
So when you set up your Twilio number in the settings, you have the option to set it up to forward to your phone number. So when someone calls that Twilio number, it just forwards it to your actual cell phone number. So your actual cell phone will ring.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right, so now we're in the edit field here. So you can just make that a little bigger. So here on the left is where we're going to edit all the content in our Smart Plan. So first up here, you can see the name. So that's the name that I gave it. You can edit it here if you need to. And then when you start scrolling through, you'll see all of the different steps that are in that plan. So here first is a text message, but I don't have Twilio. So it's giving me this big red arrow telling me that I need to set up my Twilio account in order to use this feature. So if you are using Twilio, of course, you won't see this here. And the from will show your Twilio number. And you can customize what the text message says here. So this one's great. It actually has used those merge fields that I mentioned for the agent name, so you don't have to worry about removing Matt from it and adding Colin to it. It's just going to fill in your name here. So it's going to do it there. It's going to fill in the contact email in this field. And there is a whole bunch of different merge fields like that. It's just under this drop down here. So there's a whole bunch of different merge fields that you can use. So if it was something about their birthday, of course, you can use the birthday or home anniversary, things like that, to fill in that information automatically. So if you are not using Twilio, which I'm not, you may not want this text message in here. So all you have to do is just below the item, you can click on delete, and it's going to remove that step from the smart plan. Then we had a delay right after, but you can't have a delay by itself. There needs to be something before and after a delay. So when I try and save this, it's going to tell me that I can't do it this way because it's going to start with a delay. So I'm going to remove the delay as well, just to clean it up. And then next is the email. So the reply to is this email here. Of course, that was the very first thing that I covered, was checking your reply to email in the settings. So there is a direct link to settings here if it's not showing the right email, but that is where you will change it. And then you can update the subject as well. So if you wanted to change that, you can change it here. And then again, you can edit the email down here. You might want to add a little signature. And then we'll add the agent first name, agent last name, like that. You can also write your own name in there if you're just editing it for yourself and you don't plan to publish it at any time. You can just fill in your own name. Then we have another 1-day delay. Maybe I want 5 days in between. Maybe I don't want it to be so short. All I have to do is click the arrows and change the delay here. Again, we have another Twilio, so I could remove that. I'm just going to keep going along. So this one is much more text heavy. As you can see, we have another email. This one has an email and a text message back to back. So you may want to add a delay in there. So on the right-hand side, you can see we have some different actions here. So a few different things that you can add. A lot of them are similar to what's already in here, but create a task. What that's going to do is set a reminder for something you need to do. Maybe you're creating a checklist for yourself. You could use this to set up a new listing checklist even, so that when you get a new listing with a contact, you would add this smart plan, and then maybe it's going to remind you to order the sign installer or put the lockbox up, things like that. You can automate that with the smart plans. So that's what the task is for. Make a call is another task. These are both tasks that are going to show up in the task section of Command and on your app, but this is just specifically a call task. So you can put in who you're calling and things like that. Email, if you want to add an email in here, and text message, of course. You can add your delays. You can add to smart plans. That's if you wanted them to be directed to a different smart plan at the end. And then you can also restart the smart plan. So depending on the circumstances, you may want to restart it. Certain circumstances you won't. If it's going to start repeating the emails that they've gotten since day one, that may not be ideal. But if it's something like the quarterly call plan, for example, it just says make a call, delays 90 days, and then it restarts. So that's the use of the restart function. But here I want to add a delay in between. So I'm just going to click on add or set delay. It puts it all the way down here. And then I just click the arrows to move it up to that spot where I need it. Place here. There we go. So I have a delay in between those two, the text message and the email. And yeah, so that's how you edit the content of the smart plan. On the right hand side, there is some other tips down here. So a few things just to keep in mind. You can have up to 10 tasks per day per smart plan. So if you are doing what I mentioned, like a checklist, you can only have up to 10 tasks per day. So you may need to add a delay and add some the next day if you have more than 10 tasks to add in. Text messages and emails, they do require at least a 1-day delay actually. So even if I didn't add this delay in, it wasn't going to let me save this smart plan or add anyone to it because there has to be a delay in between. It's not going to let you send both of those things on the same day. Delay can't be less than 1 day, and it cannot exceed 370 days. So currently that is the maximum delay. So you can do yearly tasks or reminders or touches and things like that, but no longer than 370 days. Let me see. Restart available for smart plans, at least 14 days or more in length. So with the restart button here, if it's only a 5-day smart plan, you won't be able to restart it. It does have to be at least 14 days. Let me just save this here. So you always want to make sure you click save, of course. If you don't save it, it's not going to keep any of the changes that you made. But now all you need to do is add your contacts to the smart plan. So once you have it set up, you'll need to make sure you have people in your contacts that you're able to add to this plan. So if you are using maybe the new to Keller Williams one, that's something you'll want to go in and set up ahead of time, adding people to your database and making sure that they have their email address. So if you don't have an email address for that contact, they're not going to receive any communications. And same for cell phone number. If you don't have a cell phone number on the contact record and you're using Twilio to send text messages, they're not going to receive them, of course, because they don't have a phone number in there. So just making sure you have complete contact info is really important. So once you have those contacts in, all you have to do is click Add Contact up here. You're going to get a list of your entire contact list. Now, if you've ever watched any of my contact trainings, oh, yep, Colin. Did you have a question?
Unmute, yes. So you just said if you don't have an email address in there, they won't. So if you're setting somebody up on a smart plan and you have the email but not the mobile or vice versa, will they receive one and not the other, or will they just receive nothing?
So they, as far as I know, and I will double check this, but they would receive the emails, they just wouldn't receive the text messages. So anything that will function, so if they have an email address and you're sending emails, they would go out. If you're sending text messages and they don't have that phone number, it's not going to send to them. So last time I checked anyways, it will still work. It just won't send whatever items you don't have contact info for.
All right, perfect.
So you can go through and manually select people to add to this, but like I was saying, if you've watched any of my contact trainings, tagging is really, really important. So you can see I have some different tags here. I have a KW agent tag, a new agent tag, and I have tags for different teams, administrators, things like that. So what that will do is it just makes it easier for you to send these smart plans to specific groups of people. Let's say it is a new buyer smart plan, for example, something you're going to add every buyer you ever get to. You may have a buyer tag that you want to add to any people who are buyers. So I have this 2022 buyer tag. All I have to do is check that off, and I'm going to get a list of everyone in my database with that specific tag only. So then I have the ability to just click select all and add only those people to this smart plan. So when you're setting up your database, think of any groups of people you may ever want to contact all at once. So buyers, sellers, maybe service providers, if you're looking to build your relationship with like your photographers or your plumbers or inspectors or whatever the case is, you may have a specific tag for that. You may have a specific tag for family and friends. If they attended an open house, you might create a tag. If they're on your sports team, like there's a whole range of different things you may create tags for. And it just really comes in handy for cases like this, where you want to send smart plans to a specific group. So if you don't use tags, of course, you're going to have to go through and manually select people to add to that smart plan, or you can search by name as well. So, or if you want to add your whole database, of course, you can click select all. And then you do have to, it's a little bit annoying, but if you were trying to select your whole database, you can see I click select all, and I'm only viewing 1 to 20 of 302. When I click the next button, none of these people are selected. So you actually have to click select all, next page, select all, next page, and so on, in order to add all of those people to that smart plan. I'm just going to get out of that so I don't actually add people to it. But I'm going to add myself. So again, that's a great tip to when you're just getting started for smart plans, add yourself to your contacts and send all of these things to yourself first so you can see how they're going to function and test them out. So I've added myself to this, and maybe I'll add this one. Click add to smart plan. Oh, and it will tell you actually if they're missing a phone number. So that's kind of nice. You'll know ahead of time if that person's not going to receive it. And you can remove them from the smart plan so they don't receive it, or you can add them to the plan anyways, which just means this person is going to receive my emails, but not my text messages. So it does give you that heads up. Click add to plan anyways. And then you can choose a few different options. So you can choose to start everyone on the smart plan right now. So they're all going to get this email right away. But if you're doing this for a lot of people, if you're adding your entire database to this, that's going to suck for you because everyone's going to reply at once. Or if it's creating tasks for you, you're going to get all 300 tasks at once. So what you can do is actually stagger the start date. So if I choose to stagger it, I can choose that I only want it to go to maybe 10 people per day. I only have 2 contacts on this, so I can only choose 2. But if you had 100 people on here, you might choose to only send it to 10 people a day so that it's sort of spacing it out. So today, 10 people are going to get it. Tomorrow, another 10 people are going to get it. So it just spreads it out for you so you're not overwhelmed with a bunch of responses all at once. Or you can set it to start on a specific date as well. So that is maybe you're setting one up for Canada Day to say Happy Canada Day to your whole database. You might set this up to start on June 30th or July 1st specifically. And then everyone's going to get this email on July 1st. So those are just a few different options you have when setting that up. But then just click confirm. Gonna load for a minute. And so now it brings you right back to your smart plans, and you can see we have that one that I just created, and it shows you how many contacts you now have on it. So click the eyeball, it will pop up and tell you who's on that smart plan, who's receiving it right now. If you want to remove someone, all you have to do is check their name and unsubscribe them, and they'll stop receiving that. So that's a good thing to know how to do, especially if you are doing like lead follow-up, like a Facebook ad follow-up. If they reply to your first message, you probably don't want them to keep getting reminders every few days when you've now started to build that relationship organically. So you would want to come in and probably remove them so they stop getting those automated emails, because now you're actually texting them or talking to them on the phone or emailing or whatever the case is. You don't want them to be getting those at the same time, because then they know that it's automatic and then it feels a little bit more spammy. So that's something that you want to make sure to do if you are starting to talk to them organically. So you just check their name off like that, confirm, unsubscribe, and unsubscribe them like that. Okay. Any questions about that part, adding contacts? There are a couple other ways to add contacts to smart plans, which I'll just quickly mention. If I go back in to edit this smart plan, you might have noticed at the top there is a view or an add trigger. So add trigger event right here. So what that does is it's actually going to automate this even further. So if you were creating a smart plan, let's say the buyer example I gave, maybe you have something set up that once a property closes, you add your buyers to it. So you're just reminded to follow up, or it reaches out to them, or whatever it is. You can actually set this up. So you can add a tag. If I did my 2022 buyer, now every time that I add a new contact to my database and I add this tag to them, it automatically starts the smart plan. So you might not add this tag until they close on their property. You might add a specific tag for that, closed or something like that. But that's going to trigger the smart plan to start. So you can set these up that all you have to do is go into the contact, add a specific tag to them, and now they're getting these communications and you're getting those reminders. So that's the other way to add people to the smart plan. Now, this isn't going to add anyone who currently has the tag. I would need to go and manually add them the way that I showed you the first time. But this would just ensure that now going forward, any future people I add to my database are going to get this smart plan as well. The last way is actually within a campaign or a Facebook ad when you're setting it up. Like I mentioned, you can set it so people get automatically added to the smart plan when they click on your ad. So that's all within the setup of a Facebook ad. So I'm not going to go through that today, but there is a recording on YouTube called Facebook lead follow-up or Facebook ads and lead follow-up, which goes over how to create a campaign and how to automate the smart plan to start. So that is another good training to watch. But this was pretty much the basics of smart plans. I mean, there's a ton more than what I showed you. So it is good to just go through and look through the library, see if there's any that interest you. And of course, you can add as many to your library as you want to play around with. I think I have like 40 something in there. So you don't actually have to add anyone to them if you're not ready to, but you can add them in and just start playing around with them. Again, send them to yourself or people you know who don't mind being your guinea pig, just to test things out. But that's pretty much it for smart plans. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we went over or any of the process with those? No? All right. So I will be posting this recording on YouTube, so you will have that to reference afterwards. But if you're going through this process and running into any issues, a couple of good resources. One is answers.kw.com. And if you go to the command section, there is a whole section on the smart plans. So if I click on smart plans here, you'll see there is all different topics. So if you were doing the birthday smart plan, for example, and it's not working, click on this one and it's going to give you a few tips, things you can do. The rest are all sort of step-by-step guides. So adding contacts to a smart plan, it actually has a video as well as some step-by-steps with screenshots. So this is a great resource when you're just getting started and looking for some guidance as you're going through it. But if you run into any issues or anything's not working as it should, just send me an email or give me a call and I'm happy to take a look. You can come in or we can hop on Zoom and see what's going on. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for you today. If no one has any questions,